Welcome to DOLA Tales, where we explore the deepest corners of the human spirit through stories of struggle and triumph. Deep within a lush valley, the morning sun cast long shadows over a village known far and wide for its craftsmen. However, one workshop stood silent and cold, its anvil gathering dust instead of sparks, a monument to wasted potential. This belonged to Ethan, a young man gifted with immense natural talent, but cursed with a lack of drive. In his dreams, he was a legend, forging swords for kings and receiving applause from the entire admiring world. But reality was far harsher, as he woke up to a mountain of unfinished tasks that he simply ignored. He chose the comfort of his chair over the heat of the forge, telling himself he would start tomorrow. His hands remained soft, untouched by the grit of labor, while his tools slowly rusted away in the damp air. The villagers began to lose patience, their trust eroding like the crumbling walls of his once respected family workshop. He offered excuses instead of results, promising that the work would be done soon, but his words held no weight. As night fell, the silence of his forge was a loud reminder of his failure to act on his potential. Deep down, anxiety gnawed at him, but the comfort of his bed was a trap he could not escape. The reckoning arrived the next morning, when the village chief stood at his door, his face stern and unforgiving. He warned Ethan that a man who contributes nothing to the village will soon find himself without a home here. Shame washed over him as he felt the heavy gaze of his neighbors, who had once expected greatness from him. He wandered into the forest, escaping the judging eyes, feeling like a failure with no path forward to redemption. Staring into the stream, he saw only a shadow of the man he wanted to be, lost and defeated. Suddenly, a rhythmic clang echoed through the trees, a sound of purpose that drew him deeper into the woods. He discovered a secluded forge, where the air was thick with the scent of burning coal and hot metal. There stood Samuel, an elder blacksmith whose muscles told the story of a lifetime dedicated to the art of iron. The old master paused, his eyes piercing through Ethan's insecurity, recognizing the look of a young man who was lost. Ethan asked how he kept working with such intensity, admitting that he himself struggled to even start his day. Samuel smiled knowingly, resting his hammer and pointing to the metal that was slowly losing its heat and glow. He explained that iron does not become a sword by dreaming. It is forged through fire and repeated strikes. Discipline is exactly like this iron. You must shape it every single day, even when your muscles scream in pain. He handed Ethan a hammer, challenging him to stop thinking and simply strike the metal with all his might. The first swing was heavy and awkward, a reflection of the rust that had gathered in Ethan's own spirit. Samuel corrected his stance, telling him that the hardest part is not the work, but the decision to begin. Ethan struck again, and a small spark flew, igniting a tiny flicker of hope within his weary heart. The master advised him to forget about the masterpiece and simply focus entirely on the single strike right now. Walking home that evening, Ethan realized that he had been waiting for inspiration that would never come without action. The next morning, he fought the urge to sleep and forced himself out of bed before the sun rose. He started small, simply cleaning the workshop, clearing away the physical clutter that represented his chaotic, lazy mind. Lighting the forge was a victory in itself, the roaring fire symbolizing the return of his passion and energy. Pain quickly set in, and his mind begged him to stop, to return to the comfort he loved. But he remembered Samuel's words about iron and discipline, forcing his tired arms to lift the hammer once more. He committed to just 5 minutes, which turned into 10, and soon an hour of productive work had passed. A week later, he held a simple knife, not a masterpiece, but a symbol of his victory over laziness. He delivered the work to a surprised neighbor, who saw not just a tool, but a change in Ethan. The discipline of the forge spilled into his life. He began to wake early and train his body daily. The sound of his hammer became the village's clock, a constant rhythm that proved his dedication to everyone around. Orders began to flood in, but Ethan remained focused, treating every single piece of metal with the utmost respect. Months of consistency led to a breakthrough, as he forged a blade of such quality that it stunned everyone. The village chief returned, not to warn him, but to marvel at the craftsmanship that now defined Ethan's work. Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride that came not from dreams, but from the reality he built. Samuel came to visit, seeing that the student had learned the most important lesson the fire could ever teach. He was no longer just a blacksmith. He was a mentor, showing others that greatness is forged, not given. The lazy boy who dreamed of glory was gone, replaced by a man who understood that action creates inspiration. Discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire burning, turning raw potential into a legacy that lasts forever. Ethan's journey proves that we do not need to feel ready to start. We just need to start. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. The perfect moment is created by the effort you put in. Like iron, your character is shaped by the pressure you apply to it, day after day, without fail. Respect is earned not by what you say you will do, but by what you actually deliver to the world. The wisdom of the old master lives on, reminding us that consistency is the only magic we truly need. His calloused hands were no longer a sign of burden, but a testament to a life lived with purpose. So if you are waiting for inspiration, stop waiting and pick up your hammer, whatever that may be. The world rewards those who show up, those who push through the pain, and those who refuse to quit. Build your discipline in the small moments, and it will carry you through the biggest challenges of your life. You have the power to forge your own destiny, but you must be willing to endure the heat. Motivation flares up and dies out like a spark, but discipline burns steadily like the hot coals within. As the day ends, ask yourself if you moved forward, or if you stood still waiting for a miracle. The stars shine on those who build, who create, and who strive to be better than they were yesterday. Ethan found his path not by looking at the stars, but by looking at the work right before him. Tomorrow the sun will rise, and the hammer will be waiting, asking if you are ready to forge again. True peace comes from knowing you gave your all, leaving nothing on the table but your best effort. Remember that discipline is the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. Build it strong and cross it daily. Let the story of the blacksmith remind you that you are both the hammer and the metal in life. Shape yourself with intention, strike with purpose, and never let the rust of laziness settle on your soul. Thank you for watching this journey. Subscribe to DOLA Tales for more stories that ignite your soul. See you soon!